Last week's episode was pretty long. Let's just be honest, right? So this week, I want to present you with more food for thought, stemming off of those same ideas that I shared with you last week and branching into more. The common question is, what's safe in pregnancy? Or is this medication safe for me? Is it safe for my child? And many will issue a blanket statement saying that something is safe simply because that's just kind of what always has been accepted. But I want to go a little bit deeper with you today. And I want to challenge you a little bit more because you are smart. And I want you to learn to rely on your own good sense when it comes to considering safety and not outsource to these so called experts who might have ulterior motives. Let's go. It's review time. Today's review comes from Heather Owens. The title says, "Thank you. I found this podcast early on in my pregnancy. I'm a first time mom and had decided from the get go to have an epidural. I would listen to the podcast and roll my eyes when unmedicated birth came up. Fast forward to 36 weeks, and now I'm planning to go unmedicated. I'm so thankful for Lori's encouragement. I'm not sure I would be so confident in my ability to do that without this podcast. May God bless you." I love that. I love that. And may God bless you, Heather. Let's see, that was left on September 14th. You were 36 weeks then, so it's October 3rd when I'm recording this. So you're probably still pregnant, but I am so excited to hear how it goes. So be sure to send me an update because I love to know when you step into just being who God made you to be. He did not make us to be weak. He did not make us to think that we have to have some outside help to do what He made us to do. The world has put this fear in us and it has sown it so deeply into who we are that it sometimes takes maybe having a podcast like mine beating on your head week after week to convince you that you actually can do what God made you to do. So I'm so excited and I'm so thankful for this review, Heather. Thank you for taking the time to leave it. It encourages me so much, and I want to hear the rest of the story. So be sure to send it to me, email me, DM me on Instagram, whatever, and let me know how it goes. If you have not left me a review yet, please do that. It helps me so much. It encourages me, as you can tell. It's just takes maybe like 30 seconds, doesn't cost you a thing. Just head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a quick 5-star written review. Or if you don't have an iPhone or you don't have an iPad or a MacBook or whatever, and you don't know anybody that does, that's fine too. If you just go to YouTube, to my YouTube channel, which is, you can look it up by If Mama Ain't Healthy, Ain't Nobody Healthy, just like the podcast. If you just like leave comments on the videos, that helps in the same way because it bumps me up in the algorithm and helps me to find other mamas like you who are looking for this information. All right, so today's show is not going to be quite as long because I just want to give you some time to marinate on some of this. After all the drama with the whole Tylenol thing last week, and I don't remember exactly what date it all started, but in the last couple of weeks, I know that you're heavy and I know that you're overloaded and you're thinking, wow, what's really going on here? Which way is up? Who do we believe? There's just this worry behind whether this medication is safe or that medication is safe. And I was always told to trust this one, and now I'm told that it's not good. How do I know if something's good? And I keep coming back to this thought that we're asking the wrong questions, that you all, as moms, are asking the wrong questions. Because, see, us medical people, we're supposed to ask questions. We're supposed to ask the right questions. And honestly, most medical people are not asking the right questions either. But if you're going to sit and wait for them to ask the right questions for you, you're going to be waiting a long time because most people who are in positions to ask these questions either A, don't have time to deal with it, or B, aren't asking the questions because they don't want to know the answers. That's the truth of it. Where we've been is safe and secure. Where we're going is a little bit choppier because, again, the things that we've been taught to believe are actually not true. And there's security in thinking you know something. And when you find out that what you thought you knew isn't true, it kind of shakes everything up. Furthermore, there's a whole lot of money behind all this, and there's a whole lot of financial incentive not to look any deeper. Okay, that's fine. That's the way it is. So, what can you do about it? You can't just sit there and hem and haw and think, oh no, I'll never know the truth. Maybe you won't. but that doesn't leave you powerless. So here's what I need you to understand. There's really three things that I need you to understand today and to think about. Okay, it's short and the quick takeaways that I want you to just kind of jot in the back of your mind, maybe even jot them down on a sticky note, so that as you face decisions in your health or in your pregnancy or in your child's health or whatever the case may be, you can know some basic information that will help you to make better decisions. First thing you need to understand, you have to understand that true safety data is often not available. Often. Sometimes you might get some actual really good information, but usually, even those that have been studied well or studied, in the way that science says is the best way, you still don't really know everything. In pregnancy, for instance, it is considered unethical, on one hand, to do true safety testing because that baby inside of the mom can't give consent. And so, if the medication that you're giving the mother could potentially harm the baby's not able to tell you that it would really rather you not do that. And yet, at the same time, though it hasn't been studied for that very reason, I mean, these things that they're giving moms now haven't been studied because it's not safe to study them because the baby can't give consent. And so we're not going to study them, but then we're just going to blanket say that it's okay, go ahead and take things like shots in pregnancy. When I was in nursing school, there were no shots routinely given in pregnancy. And I think you know what shots that I'm talking about. I'm not going to get too deep into it because I don't want to get censored, but you know what I'm talking about. We didn't give them at all. And yet now there's several that are recommended routinely in pregnancy, and there are no new studies that came out to support that as being a safe option. Just one day they decided they're going to start recommending it because in their minds, that gave immunity to the baby so that when the baby was born, the baby was carrying some of that immunity. They didn't study that. They didn't study to see if it was safe. They just started doing it. So they consider it unethical to study, but they don't consider it unethical to just do it. It makes no sense, right? So you have to understand that the safety data, allowing them to even claim that these things are safe for you, isn't available. And they are making these statements based on nothing. Outside of pregnancy, we also know that countless medications were once considered safe and are now known to cause serious health issues. And they're making attorneys rich. Just watch TV and watch for what the latest thing is. If you took this, call us. You could be, entitled to whatever payment, right? Off of medications that they used to advertise and say were safe. I still have, I think somewhere, little notepads and pens from Vioxx because Vioxx drug reps would bring these little promotional things around and give out pens and give out all these things with their branding on it so that we would be more likely to recommend those things. Well, Vioxx has been off the market a long time because of what they found with it after the fact, after they told you it was safe. See, most medications and most interventions, even if they were studied the quote right way, really don't have long-term safety data. They haven't been studied across years and years and years to know that, like, yeah, maybe right now you take it and everything looks okay, but 10 or 15 years down the road, what's it going to look like? How is it impacting your health? They don't know because they haven't studied it. They're not patient enough to wait that long. They want the money now. They've got the drug now. They want to give it to you now. Nobody's got time to wait a decade or 20 years or whatever. One example that comes to mind right now, that's current right now, that it seems like everybody is on right now, is these GLP-1 shots. They're all the rage. But if I was a betting woman, I would say they'll be off the market in 10 years or less. And they'll be in one of those commercials saying, hey, if you took this and had this happen, then call us. You could be entitled to a payout. It's all one grand experiment being done on a vulnerable population that thinks it's their only way out, basically. That this is the only way they can ever lose weight, or this is the only way they can get their diabetes corrected because they've never been told any different. They've never learned that they can actually change these things with their lifestyle. Or even if they've been told that, they don't believe it's true. It's all a big experiment. So you've just got to remember that nearly anything that's recommended to you is based on limited data, if there's any data at all. And so you've got to keep that healthy skepticism that maybe just because they say it's safe doesn't mean that it is. And maybe the days of blindly trusting are over. Okay. Which leads me to the next point. And that is that you have to understand that the absence of proving that something causes a problem is not the same as proving it's safe. Basically, many things are said to be safe, but nobody has proven that that is the thing that causes problems. But when those things haven't been properly studied, like shots, and when you have an entire culture of shifting blame or gaslighting, even people who have no dog in the hunt, y'all, will fight for things and say things are good and safe, even though they have no clue. They're just saying what they heard. When you have that kind of a culture, then you end up being made to feel crazy if you ask questions because, of course, it's safe. What are you, one of those crazy crunchy people who just, wants to take your herbs and have your babies at home? What are y'all, crazy? That's how they look at you. They'll say millions of people take these things every day. They're fine. There's no problem. But is that really true? Not being able to prove that something causes a problem scientifically does not mean that you have proven it is safe. So just because they haven't proven that A causes B does not necessarily mean that A doesn't cause B. It just means that they haven't proven it, or maybe they're not even looking because they don't want to prove it because they don't want you to know. When the thing you're trying to prove is safe, has never been studied against an inert placebo. Inert means that it doesn't cause any response at all. So an inert placebo in something like with shots would be like saline. You can inject saline and nothing's going to happen. And so if you have a good study, then you would have a group of people who get a shot of saline and a group of people who get a shot of whatever thing you're wanting to study. And then you look at them short term and long term to see what happens. Okay. How do their bodies respond? And then you can maybe draw some conclusions about safety, but those tests haven't been done on any of the shots and on most of other medications these days either, because they've kind of figured out that this is really a great way to kind of obfuscate the data and make it to where you can't really know whether something's harmful or not. There's a great book about this, by the way, that explains it really well. It's called Turtles All the Way Down. I linked it in last week's show. I'll try to remember to link it in this week's show as well, because that really helps you to understand how they do the studies and how they've gotten around doing them the right way. It really kind of draws the picture for you well. You should go check that book out. So when you haven't looked at long-term safety data, when you haven't looked at the active ingredients against placebo, you just can't know if it's truly safe. You can't know if taking it now is going to cause you problems 20, 30 years from now. You have no way to know. When it hasn't been looked at in the specific combinations of how we use it now, you don't know it's safe. Again, shots come to mind because they haven't been studied in this way, and oftentimes they're combined together, like different antigens are combined together. By the way, the word last week, if you listen to last week's episode, and you heard me having a moment where I couldn't come up with the right word, I just came up with it. It's antigen. And I have to thank my dear friend, Dr. Stu, for pointing it out to me, because he messaged me and he's like, yeah, listen to your podcast. The word's antigen. He's right. The word's antigen. And so when you're you're not looking at how these various shots with various antigens mix together and how they impact your body differently when you're giving more than one of them at the same time. You don't know if it's safe. I think about labor. I think about how, in general, we'll tell you to stay away from all these different medications all through your pregnancy. But then when you're in labor, suddenly it's okay for us to give you an epidural and Pitocin and Cytotec and maybe IV drug pain medicines. And maybe if the Pitocin doesn't go well, then maybe some drugs to keep the contractions from doing so much to where they make your baby's heart rate go down, and all these things. This big cocktail of all these different drugs that you're getting in pregnancy, and nobody has studied whether those things in combination are safe for you. And yet they'll tell you it's safe. How do they know? They don't. So the third point is that the lens I really need you to start looking through the world through, looking at the world through, sorry. The lens you need to look at the world through, especially the medical world, when you hear some new issue come up, some new A causes B, or A doesn't cause B, or, A might make you more likely to get B, or whatever the thing is, you have to understand that you need to have a healthy skepticism. There will be more controversy coming. Count on it. The Tylenol thing is just the beginning. Okay, there will be more. You're going to have trouble knowing who to trust. You're going to have trouble knowing which way is up sometimes, because you're going to think, well, I thought all these years that this was fine and turns out it wasn't. And you're going to be very frustrated. You're going to have trouble knowing who to trust. But here's who I know that you can trust. You can trust God, and you can trust his word, and you can, and just that knowledge, knowing that you can trust the Lord and you can trust his word, will keep you from losing your mind in all this confusion. Going back to scripture. Now, maybe God doesn't talk in scripture about scientific studies that are going to come out in 2025. Granted. But he does talk about peace. He talks about things that threaten your peace. He talks about where you find your assurance. He talks about what to do when attacks are coming from all angles. There's a lot of good meat in there that's going to help you. Stay in the word, because that is truth. And when you can at least know that in those moments of studying the word that you are getting truth, it will ground you and it will help you to breathe a little easier and know that this world is temporary and all this confusion and chaos is temporary. It will ground you, and that's what you need. It'll keep you from losing your mind. Furthermore, thinking about whatever this new thing is, whatever the new issue is, how does that line up with either supporting the way that God made your body, or maybe not supporting it or working against it? Maybe is the thing that they're talking about, whatever the next new thing is it a crutch that's making your body weaker? Because, if you stay on crutches for too long, you lose weakness, right? So is that drug or that treatment something that's going to make your body's design not as strong, because your body learns to rely on that thing instead of relying on its own strength? Is it maybe blocking some function that makes the body weaker, that then has potential downstream impacts? That particular one, the biggest thing that comes to mind is things like birth control, because it blocks a function that makes the body weaker and causes downstream effects that they don't want to talk about. You've got to think about these kinds of things when you're making your decisions. You've got to trust the Lord and trust your gut. Trust that instinct that he gives you. And always remember, doubt means don't. If you're not sure, it's always prudent to wait. It's always a prudent choice. I know many of you listening right now are dealing with health issues that maybe arose from some things that maybe you used to think were safe. You were told they were safe, and now you found out that, oops, it's not. I know so many of you think that there is no way to restore your health. A lot of you have given up hope for such things. And while there may be a few things that aren't entirely correctable, nearly everything can at least be improved some, if not a lot, when you learn what's going on underneath and you identify the root cause so that you can aim your lifestyle choices at that thing and not just be shooting in the dark. I work with women who are feeling that way, like they're stuck. And maybe they feel like it's too late for them. So if you're feeling that way, like it's just too late for you, are you feeling like that? Are you feeling like the damage is done? There's no point in even trying? Hear me when I tell you that God made your body to heal. There is no damage that can't be improved upon, and usually the improvements are significant. Have faith in his design and consider that coaching might be the biggest little step you ever take to true transformation. How would it feel to finally feel good again? How would it feel to be confident in knowing that you can make decisions for your health without worry and without doubt? I help women do that, and I would love to help you. If you're ready to put all of this doubt and all this worry behind you, if you're ready to finally make real change, you can contact me a few ways. You can DM me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is at Lori _Morris _CNM, certified nurse midwife CNM. You can email me at lori@morriswellnessservices.com. Or if you're ready, you can skip both of those and you can just fill out a short application on my website and book a free 15-minute discovery call with me so I can get kind of an idea of where you're at and whether coaching might be, whether that might be what you need in your journey to healing. Any of those options will work. But if you know you're ready, if you want to skip the chit chat with me of like, what's going on and whether or not it might be right for you, if you're just ready to get this show on the road, head over to morriswellnessservices.com/apply and we'll talk soon. Either way, be sure to set your reminders and meet me back here next week for a new episode. And also, if you're listening to this on audio podcast, remember the podcast now comes out on Monday night on YouTube. So if you want to hear it sooner, if you want to watch in video format, you now have that option on Monday night. I set it for 5 o'clock local time. I think that means that like if it's 5 o'clock here, then like it'll come at 5 here and then also at 5 o'clock wherever you're at. I think that's the way it rolls out. So if not, then it just base it on 5 o'clock Central Time. So you just have to kind of do the math there. Like if you're Eastern Time, then that would be 6 o'clock and you can do the math and figure it out. But either way, if you're itching to get the new information, Monday night, you can now get it on YouTube. And then Tuesday early morning, it rolls out to all the podcast formats. So I'll meet you back here next week.